If you've seen YouTube videos promising tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in your first month selling online, then this isn't the video for you. This video is not about making Lambo money in your first week, and it's definitely not a get-rich-quick thing. This video is for people who want something real, something maybe boring at first, but actually viable as a business. The kind that can become passive later once the work is done and the systems are in place. So I'm going to show you what my first year of e-com really looked like month by month, and also show you how much of this was profit in the end. Because let's be honest, profit is what actually matters at the end of the day. So I'm holding nothing back and I'm giving you the secret sauce, especially if you're looking for inspiration to start your own e-com store. So I'm going to move here over to my Shopify dashboard, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh so you know that it's legit. So this is the first month selling on Shopify, which was Jan 2024, and the total revenue came in at around $3,700. To give you some behind the scenes of what happened before we hit the $3,700, I'm going to show you exactly where AI helped. And for that, I'm going to split this into 3 phases. Phase 1 is research and validation. Phase 2 is setup and launch. And phase 3 is actually running the business and the day-to-day. So phase 1 lasted about a month, right before we started selling, and involved quite a bit of product and market research. So my strategy here wasn't to find a winning product, because that's how people end up with fidget spinners, which are hot for a month and then dead the next month, and you're stuck with thousands of dollars worth of inventory. But instead, I focused on a niche with sustained growth, and that's where I ended up with pickleball. So if you look at this graph here, there's a healthy trend where pickleball was growing year over year from 2020 all the way to 2023. And to further this research, this is where AI helped with identifying customer behavior and patterns, summarizing niche forums, and Reddit posts and Amazon reviews. I was able to feed all of this data into ChatGPT, which then gave me an outline of customer personas and also the core demographics. So what I realized early on was that there was a huge gap in the market for affordable pickleball paddles. And big brands like Selkirk and Euler were selling their paddles for $250. When in reality, it didn't cost more than $40 max to have it produced in China. And so January was a small-scale dropshipping test. So where you can see we sold for a few days just to test the demand and to validate the market. And once I realized that the first 2 weeks were profitable, that was all the signal I needed. So I immediately ordered another 500 units because the factory had a 20-day lead time. Now, to be honest, you don't have to order these many units. You can start with just 100 units. We did 500 because I was very confident with the niche, and we got pretty good rates from our suppliers. And this is where AI was really helpful in drafting these long technical documents that we were able to send to suppliers in order to source our paddles. And as a human, I took care of the logistics, the communication, and the overall decision making. So back to our graph here, and we'll move on to the month of Feb. So Feb was actually a month where we started selling our own branded paddles, and we made around $8,000. It did involve quite a bit of effort because we were creating a branded store during this month. And in Jan, we had this really janky, fugly dropshipping store. So in Feb, we redid the entire store with our own branding, which we called Velocity Pickleball Paddles. So as you can see, this is our page over here, and that's me sitting there. And we had all of these little blocks that proved to really improve conversions, and overall this page was doing quite a bit of sales. And this brings us to phase 2, where we set up and launched our own brand store. And this is where AI helped with picking the colors and typography based on the core audience. It also helped with the product descriptions and the website copy, and also the general layout of the page for high conversions. And as a human, my job was to take that layout and to turn it into a store page, while also setting up the ad accounts and also shooting the content. And here's where a lot of people make a big mistake, because they expect AI to replace execution. They start making these AI slop ads early on, which kills trust and credibility. Instead, what I did was I spent about a day shooting all the content I needed for the next 6 months. So moving on to March here. So March was the month where we ramped up on paid media spends, and you can clearly see it actually generated around $19,000 in revenue. We made more than double the revenue compared to Feb at around 133% increase. This was the month where we were also testing new ad creatives and scaling on the winners and cutting down on the losers. And to be honest, AI really didn't save me a lot of time until the business had enough volume. Once the same problems started showing up every day, that's when AI started to really make a difference. Because this is where we enter phase 3, which is actually running the business and dealing with customer service. At first, I did not trust AI to handle customer emails. I wanted to personally read and respond to every customer email myself. And it was taking a lot of my time, around 4 hours a day, just resolving issues. Because at the time we had this fulfillment center that was missing all of our orders or shipping the wrong products. Here's my advice to you if you're just starting to scale your business. Make it a habit to respond to customers yourself because it gives them more confidence when the CEO directly responds to them. And most people are genuinely nice if you provide quality customer service. And this is also a good time to introduce AI once you've understood the nature of your customers, because AI is very effective at sentiment analysis and it can draft an email response in your exact tone of voice. And the chances are there's maybe one issue in your product or supply chain which is causing 80% of your customers' complaints. And it's a good time to use AI to suggest product or service improvements. So what you can do is you can feed it a whole bunch of emails and it tells you exactly where the gaps are. And this is where AI helped with the ad ideation and the ad copy, and then later on with responding to customer emails and identifying product improvements based on those emails. And as a human, my job was the overall marketing strategy. So let's move on to April here. So moving on to April, our revenue actually dipped compared to March. We did only about $17,000 in sales, and it was because we ran out of stock. And as you can see, we were doing around $1,000 a day when around the 15th of April, it just completely dies from there. To be honest, we just didn't expect the demand to be this high. So I had to immediately order another 500 units and we had to get 50 of those paddles shipped via express, just because I wanted to keep the sales momentum going. And this is where you need to be careful. If you don't plan your inventory, you're going to end up spending a lot of money on rushed orders, which will eventually end up eating into your profits. And as we go on, I'll show you how this actually lost us a lot of sales over the next few months. So moving on to May over here. So moving into May, our revenue actually improved by 17% compared to April. And you can see the 50 express paddles that we had shipped doing some work over here. And then we ran out of inventory again for the next few days till we got our bulk shipment around the 14th of May and we were able to pick up our sales from there. So all in all, we ended our month doing around $21,000 in revenue and 17% increase compared to the previous month. But wait, it actually gets interesting from here because for the next month in June, terror strikes again. Because during the month of June, we just blew through all of our inventory again. And as you can see, around the 15th of June, we were doing nearly $1,500 a day on average. But around the 16th of June, that's when we completely went out of stock and sales just flatlined for the rest of the month from there. And this is the kind of mistake that can really kill a business because the stock issue not just affected June, but it continued onto the first half of July. So as you can see, we didn't have any stock till almost the 11th or 12th of July, and then sales started to pick up from there. And this is the kind of thing AI just can't predict. As a business owner, you need to make sure that you have enough inventory to cover your current month plus another 30 days. Usually when you manufacture from China, factories take around 20 to 30 day lead time for producing your product. And then there's another 30 days to have it shipped via sea cargo to your fulfillment center. So make sure you have at least 60 days of inventory. And that's exactly what I ended up doing. I maxed out my credit card and I ordered 1,000 units. And I also set a trigger to order 500 units every 30 days, which was my store's sales capacity at that time. When all is said and done, we finished July with about $18,600 in sales, which is about 20% lower compared to the previous month, just because of those inventory issues. And this is the part most YouTube videos leave out, because this one mistake actually cost me money and my sanity. So if you're looking to start your own e-com store, please don't make the same mistake that I did. And always make sure you forecast your inventory and prepare ahead of time. So moving on to August here, and this was the month where things finally started picking up since we sorted out our stock issue. And as you can see, we have a nice linear sales graph over here where we were doing around $1,000 a day on average. And we ended this month with nearly $34,000 in sales, which is an 80% increase in sales compared to July. We almost doubled our sales compared to the previous month. So from here, we'll move on to September. And moving on to September, we had another predictable month with no stock issues. And we ended this month with around $38,000 in revenue, which is around an 18% increase compared to the previous month. So going over to October, this is where we really started to ramp up. And this is also the first month where we are averaging around $2,000 a day in sales. This is also where we introduced email marketing to target our previous customers just because we added a new SKU to our inventory. And AI really helped here with generating copy for the email marketing. So we finished the month of October with around $59,000 in revenue, which is around a 53% increase compared to the previous month. So moving on to November, we had another good month, mostly due to Black Friday, where you can see that we did nearly over $5,000 in just that one single day. And one thing to remember for November is to have all of your Black Friday ads and marketing campaigns ready by the first week. Because let's be honest, you do not want to miss the biggest sale event of the year. And we ended the month of November doing around $67,000 in revenue and a 15% increase compared to the previous month. And for the final month of the year in December, we actually did only about $43,000 in sales. And this time it wasn't due to inventory, it was due to seasonality. And to be honest, it makes sense. People would much rather spend Christmas with their families, staying warm and sipping hot chocolate rather than playing pickleball outside. So anyways, if you've been keeping count, for the entire year, we ended up doing just over $350,000 in revenue. And now for the part you've all been waiting for. How much profit did we actually make? To be honest, revenue looks good on a graph, but profit is what actually pays the bills. Since this was our own brand store, our profit margins were much higher compared to if we did the same thing through dropshipping. So average across all the months after paying for inventory and shipping, Facebook and Google ads, and tool costs like Klaviyo and affiliate apps, our profit was around 24% of the total revenue, which comes to around $84,182 or roughly around $7,000 a month. Now, to be fair, we could have easily hit $400,000 in revenue and around $96,000 in profit if we didn't have any of those inventory issues. But like all things in life, you learn as you go. So if you've watched this far and you're thinking of starting an e-commerce store in 2026, this is the best time. Especially since AI has become a lot more powerful now to handle most of the low-level tasks for you. So if you want to build something real and repeatable, I break down the exact step-by-step on how I use AI to find long-term profitable products in the next video. So make sure you like and subscribe. And with that said, all the best on your business journey, and thank you for watching.